In just a few days, the situation around the world might change drastically because of a huge problem in China's economy that could cost $56 trillion. There are clear signs that trouble is coming. Many people in China are refusing to pay their mortgages, and they can't get to their money in the bank. This is causing a big problem for the leaders of China. Just a year ago, China was a country where people were very upset. On May 23rd, protesters filled the streets of Hainan. The government had to send many police officers to try and calm things down. And a year after those protests, things just kept getting worse. The housing loan crisis in China has worsened, revealing how delicate the country's housing market is. This market is very important for China's overall economy. The government and banks are working hard to control the growing crisis. They are thinking about lowering the interest rates on current home loans, a method that hasn't been used since the big worldwide financial crisis years ago. This plan is to help people who own homes by reducing the amount they have to pay and to encourage them to spend more money, as the economy is not doing very well. The total amount of these home loans is really big, reaching $5.29 trillion by the end of June, making up 17% of all the loans given by banks. Normally, the interest rates on current home loans are about 100 basis points more than the rates for new home loans, which is 4.11%. This big difference puts a lot of pressure on homeowners, showing why it's important to consider changing the interest rates. Although lowering the rates would help, it could also make things harder for banks because it could lower their profits and the amount they can lend to others. The latest numbers show the biggest drop in the prices of new homes since February 2015. The number of properties sold fell by 23% in December compared to the year before, which was the quickest drop in 4 months. Money put into building new properties in the same month went down the most, since records started in 2000. In total, money invested in properties went down by 9.6% in 2023, which is similar to the decrease in 2022. These numbers show how big the crisis is and that it doesn't just affect the property market, but also the overall recovery of China's economy. Even though the government is trying to help the market by giving more money to property and infrastructure projects and making it easier to buy homes in big cities, people are still not very interested in buying homes, which has been going on since 2021. China's economic troubles have grown under President Xi Jinping. Shifting from a group decision-making system to one where he makes most choices has made people concerned about the country's economic health. In China's banking system, there's a rule called fractional reserves. It's like a game of musical chairs with money. Imagine you put $1,000 into a bank. The bank doesn't just keep your money in a vault. Instead, it's required to hold on to just 10% of it, or $100, and can lend out the rest to other people. So your $1,000 quickly becomes only $100 in the bank's cash. The rest is out there being used by others. Now imagine this happening with the entire banking system, which holds $56 trillion. Only 10% of that is real, on-hand cash. That's $5 trillion. The other 90% is out in the world in loans, houses, and businesses. This system works fine until people get scared and try to take their money out all at once. The banks don't have all that money ready to give because it's tied up in loans and investments that can't be turned into cash quickly. This fragile balance was shaken when news broke about 400,000 Chinese accounts being frozen. This made people nervous, leading to many refusing to pay their mortgages, amounting to $350 billion. This fear spread quickly, risking the collapse of the entire system. The first sign of trouble was in April 2022, when 4 small banks in Henan province said they couldn't let people access their money, about $6 billion. They were caught in a big illegal scheme that lasted 10 years. The government found out and froze their accounts. At first, the bank said it was just a technical problem, but it was more serious. People couldn't get their money, which caused protests and drew national and international attention. Another big part of the problem is the real estate market. Since 2008, the Chinese government encouraged people to invest in property rather than the unstable stock market. This led to lots of new buildings and high ownership of homes. From 2013 to 2018, about 89% of people owned their homes. China did this to grow its economy and become a big player globally. But this focus on property meant people didn't have many other places to put their money. Bank savings didn't earn much, and it was hard to invest outside the country, so lots of money went into an already hot housing market. Property developers were at the center of this. They kept building and selling homes before they were finished. They used the money from new sales to pay for the next project. This created a dangerous cycle of building and selling that wasn't sustainable. This risky situation made the banking and property sectors in China very delicate. If one part fails, It can lead to problems everywhere, showing how everything in the economy is connected. The trouble with the real estate market became clear when building projects were delayed. Homeowners, tired of waiting for homes that weren't finished, stopped paying. This sudden stop in payments cut off the money that developers needed for their projects. This big operation, worth $356 billion, ground to a halt. Without new money coming in, builders couldn't finish their projects. This led to a big increase in people refusing to pay their mortgages. The problem of money coming in and going out became a big headache for the people who build homes, causing those who bought these homes to lose trust and making the government feel unsteady. This wasn't a small issue caused by tiny companies, but a huge problem created by 8 of the biggest building companies in China, including giant names like Evergrande, Shimao, Sunac, and Country Garden. These companies were in the middle of a massive $360 billion trick where they used new money to pay off old debts. People who bought homes started to worry when they saw that the builders were not meeting their deadlines. They asked the local officials to let them stop paying their loans if companies like Evergrande didn't start building again within a certain time. Before people started to refuse to pay, Evergrande was making $75 billion a year. But this action to stop payments began in Henan and spread quickly, affecting more than 300 building projects in over 100 cities. This seriously weakened Evergrande's ability to manage its money. The government is scared that this problem could spread and affect people's savings in the bank. If this trouble in the housing market spreads to other areas of the economy, it could have effects all over the world, similar to financial problems that started in China before. The current situation is a lot like the financial crisis in 2008, with the Chinese government trying to control what people say to hide the unhappiness of the homeowners. Officials are working hard to remove any online evidence of protests, focusing on videos that show the unfair methods used by builders and people who lend money. Even though they are trying to control the situation, the future doesn't look good. China is preparing for its slowest growth in years. Factories are not making as much, people are spending less money, and more young people are out of work. The Chinese government is dealing with a lot of tough situations, health problems made worse by travel limits, increasing arguments with the US about Taiwan, and foreign investors leaving China's huge bond market. All these things are weakening the government's position and bringing many difficult problems. China became a very powerful country in the economy, mostly because it was really good at making things, which was a big part of the world's production. Being so good at making things made China very important in the world and helped keep things stable in the region. China's ability to make a lot of goods made it a key supplier for the world, creating strong economic relationships. But things are changing now. Arguments over trade with big countries like the United States, problems in how products are delivered, and limits on technology show how risky it is to depend too much on China for making things. As the amount of things made goes down and arguments with other countries get worse, the world is becoming more careful and thinking about changing how and where things are made. While this crisis shows the dangers of focusing too much on making things in one place, moving away from China is not easy. China's system for making things is very efficient and big, which makes it hard for companies to think about moving somewhere else. The problems in China's economy are not just about money. They are changing the way countries work together and trade with each other. This situation will keep changing how countries buy and sell things and how they work together. Keeping peace in society is very important, especially as a very big meeting of the Chinese Communist Party is coming up. This meeting is a time when showing unity to the rest of the world is very important. This meeting is especially important as Xi Jinping prepares for his next election, where showing strength and steadiness is key. To try to fix the crisis and calm the protesters, the government and local officials are telling the public that they will ensure the troubled companies' building projects are finished, but with only a little time left before things could fall apart. The strength of the Chinese Communist Party is being tested heavily, with people from other countries and its own citizens watching very closely.